Alright, Lantis, so it's finally time for us to react to what the Brave Souls community feels about the new 10th anniversary characters. Finally, after a whole decade, we have received an anniversary original Ichigo and Rukia, potentially the first of many Soul Ascension units. We did talk about that yesterday, where it does seem like this is going to be a series kickstarting more original designs in Brave Souls. And if this is the first of many, I'm excited for it because I think Ichigo and Rukia look absolutely amazing. Because this year they did go with the sun and moon motif, and you can definitely see that with the designs. And there's a lot going on with the design. There's a lot of really cool attention to detail with these characters, but also from a visual standpoint too. Man, I'm impressed. Both Ichigo and Rukia have some of the best visuals in the entire game, and you can definitely see that more so when you take them into content like Arena or the attribute tree grounds, where the screen itself is zoomed out. The rainbow, sun, and also moon effects that Ichigo and Rukia have in their gameplay is actually really cool looking. And then most importantly, at least for me, Ichigo has the best soul in the game. It is absolutely amazing. And of course, it goes without saying, the characters themselves are easily the best characters in the game. Are they perfect? By no means no. No character is perfect. We can always get better, and I'm sure some people in the comments today are going to have a few nitpicks or criticism aimed at the characters. And hopefully we can actually read those out instead of just reading the same comment over and over again, you know? But let's see what the community has to say. So first up, we have Slayer Wick saying, Ichigo and Rukia look absolutely divine in these new 10th anniversary forms. Ichigo's design feels like the perfect evolution of his Soripa and also Hollow Powers, especially with that power blade. It finally reaches peak. Rukia's form is stunning too, like a full realization of her Bankai with such graceful ice detailing. The animations are incredibly smooth, and you can feel the whole journey reflected in these designs. I'm really glad they ended up as the faces for the 10th anniversary. No two characters deserve it more. And I fully agree with that, right? This is why it's super unfortunate, by the way, that the designs and the review itself got spoiled ahead of time, because I really believe this could have been a top 3 moments in the Brave Souls community. Even though it was the most likely outcome, I mean, everyone saw this coming. You know, even though I called that we were going to get an original Ichigo and Rukia, it's not even like it's an amazing call, because it was what Caleb should have done. They done exactly what we wanted and expected. And it was the correct course too, because yeah, it makes no sense to do anyone other than the two main characters to celebrate a decade of Brave Souls. Especially after our last 2 anniversaries have been focused on Thousand Year Blood War, going back to original designs was by far the best thing they could have done. Light Thunder is saying the best anniversary ever. And we have to wait and see. There's, you know, we're only on part 1. We ain't even seen part 2 just yet. Ever since last year, though, Caleb has been generous with 5-star tickets. The Rukia and Ichigo are majestic, cool, great strong attacks, no wasted skills, no GQ-specific skills, beautiful and powerful in every way. Not to mention, this will also be the start of a new trend, Soul Ascension. They also messed up Soul Ascendance. I've also been calling it that. It's very easy to mix up the words Ascension with Ascendance. Basically the same thing, but it is called Soul Ascension. Just like the 5th anniversary kickstarted the Beyond Bankai trends. Absolutely spectacular characters. They are beautifully made, one of the best anniversaries to date. Jeff is saying, so basically Ichigo is the sun and Rukia is the moon. I'm interested to see if they're going to do other characters based off planets as the next idea. That'll be very interesting to see. And I'm also curious about that too. Again, with these designs, I don't even know like what to expect of other characters, but I think the main theme with the 10th anniversary units is that they are giving off godly, divine forms. And as we did cover in yesterday's video, it seems like we are going to be getting more of those, and I'm excited more so to see Chad and also Orihime's original designs, because one would assume they would be part of this Soul Ascension series. But also the better question is, who else would be part of this series? You know, Beyond Bankai was clearly catered to Soripas, Beyond Resurrection was clearly catered to Espada. In this case, it feels like anyone could be part of this, whether you're a Quincy, a human, a Soripa, or an Espada. Masters is saying characters both 10 out of 10. Don't think Rukia should have waited 10 years for an anniversary character. No new mechanics, no game modes is a little disappointing. That's fair enough. In regards to no new mechanics, it's a bit of a weird one, right? Because they do introduce a new mechanic. It's just the new mechanic is designed for them to be used as links. It's a bit more than that because you're not offering a soul trait, you're offering a skill, and that in of itself can go crazy. But I do get the criticism behind the characters not having anything new in terms of gameplay. Despite both characters being amazing, having really good strong attacks, in some cases new strong attacks, they are currently using what exists in the game, Status Omen Plus, Killer Plus, superior strong attacks. While the damage output is high, it's also again just frenzy free, which isn't a bad thing, and high berserker values, right? So I kind of get the criticism towards no new mechanics, because compared to last year, while the character choice was definitely controversial, and I think in some ways overhated, but in ways rightfully so because, Anniversary Grammy, right? At the very least, they introduced the new EX attacks, and that, kickstarted a whole new trend where every month we get a new extra attack for, the Limit Breaker character of the month. Shanks is saying, if the only nitpick about the anniversary that we want more of this, it just means K-Lab cooked. Azaya is saying, I love these characters so much and I did 20 steps, got a 2 out of 5 Rukia, a 2 out of 5 Ichigo, and also Yachiru. Azaya is also leaving another comment saying the designs are amazing and everything else, but to me the only problem with these characters is the HP regeneration problem. Well, I wish they at least had stamina recovery or drain to heal, but other than that, they're really broken for me and my account. I've seen that thrown around a lot, like none of these characters have like any way to heal. I get it. I mean, with Rukia, none of her damage output is tied behind being at full stamina, so like it's not like she really needs it. Not every character needs to heal themselves, right? In regards to Ichigo, he does have a 50% damage at full stamina, so having a way to heal himself would be good. But at that point, it would require him having a wasted skill. He already has, like, every skill this character has is important. Maybe besides Poise Break, because he has Status Augment Plus. Paralysis Plus more so. But, if he had Drain, it would have meant he had to have only one Status Augment, which would have been Drain Plus. That in of itself isn't good. You could have made the case you could have had Drain Plus and also Paralysis Plus, but, Status Augment Plus is still a new mechanic. It's clear K-Lab aren't ready just yet. Despite this being the 10th anniversary, despite them being the best characters in the game, they aren't ready yet to do double Status Augment Plus. We've only had that mechanic in the game for 7 months. This stat is saying pretty insane, but their EX attacks are kind of useless. Ichigo should have been given the SP boost, and Rukia should have been given the boost debuff. It would have made them a lot better, and made sure they stayed in the meta for a long time, like Remy and also Kenpachi. I kind of get where they're coming from. I've seen this a lot, and it is kind of surprising too. But the thing is, like, are we really only ever going to get the same EX attacks for every big celebration? Like, Kenpachi and Grammy introduced those EX attacks. It was also the best EX attacks in the game. They're absolutely broken. But then we got the same exact EX attacks for the end of year. And then what, for anniversary, we're going to get the same 2 EX attacks? I could feel like that would be a tad bit repetitive. And the thing is, it's like, even though they don't have these amazing EX attacks that Grammy and Kenpachi introduced, they make up for it in other ways. Sure, if they were given that EX attack, they would have been even better, even more broken. But I don't think they need those EX attacks to be relevant like 9th anniversary Kenpachi and also Grammy. Because as far as Grammy is concerned, when it comes to Guild Quest content, not to say he's falling off, he's really, really not, but he can't get as high scores as Kenpachi, Rukia, Ichigo, and maybe even the new Byakuya and also Aizen. So even though Grammy has that EX attack, the debuff, and also boost, the new characters are still going to outscore him. Amar is saying the 10th anniversary characters are perfect. Banner was perfect and the fillers too. While I'm really only personally here to talk about, the characters themselves, I guess it is worth mentioning the banner itself was really good. First time ever getting 1000 Year Blood War fillers on a premium banner. This banner could have very easily went the opposite way and just become mediocre. Because normally that's how the anniversary does go. Part 1 is more so just the better characters, but worse fillers, worse value. While Part 2 has worse characters, still equally good in ways, but better value. But this year, it's like you're going to get really good value in Part 1 and also 2. Hopefully, we'll find out, later this week. Also, imagine what they can do with the EX skill mechanic. We could see some characters in the future have EX skills that increase your strong attack damage by 20%. In fact, they actually give that as a example in the news. So that's probably going to happen in the future. Overall, good anniversary, even though it's kind of lacking in the content right now. Which, yeah, is fair enough, but we have to wait and see how the other parts are going to play out. But remember too, with the EX skills, right, we've already gone over quite a lot on the channel, is that because it's an EX skill, it's not a soul trait, it does multiply with any skill they already have built in. So if we ever were to get this particular strong attack damage team buff, basically the Mugetsu soul trait as an EX skill, that is going to stack with Mugetsu, and that's going to be crazy. I really feel like, and maybe that's the idea with this new EX skill, I feel like I might pull for a character in the future strictly for that EX skill. This is saying they're epic, not only if it didn't take me 30 steps to get them after tickets. I mean, I'm pretty much almost there with you, right? I did 25 steps and didn't even get one. Again, outside of the ticket. This is such a hype banner with fantastic value on both units. I'm still baffled that people thought they would be mids. I think the criticism, again, towards the units was more so no new gameplay mechanics. And maybe some people confused that with them being mediocre. But I do know a lot of people maybe overestimated not overestimated, but again, not to say that one comment earlier talking about the EX attacks, but because they didn't have those 2 EX skills, attacks more so, the SP boost and the debuff, etc. People thought that they wouldn't be as good as Kenpachi or Gremmy, or at the same time, because it is the 10th anniversary, people wanted these characters to further push the power creep like the 9th anniversary did. You know, when Kenpachi and Gremmy first released, they were significantly better than any other character in the game by a massive margin, where the 10th anniversary are easily, again, some of the better characters in the game, if not the best characters in the game, but they aren't instantly invalidating, you know, the 9th anniversary characters, which I think is a good thing. You know, we don't need new power creep every year, even though we are getting that with the EX skills. It's nice to have good power creep, you know, that's actually somewhat balanced, where there's someone pushing it, at the same time, these characters, due to the EX skills, are pushing other characters up with them, but not instantly invalidating any character you summoned for in the previous year. All I'm saying, 10th anniversary Rukia and Ichigo are cool in looks and also animations. They pack the power behind who they are supposed to represent, being deities. I went 30 steps receiving a 1-5 Rukia and a 4/5 Ichigo on that step. I was prepared to go to step 50 because I wanted the third special move source, but I think it's better to wait for the next banner. And that's definitely the case. As we are now currently a few days into the characters released, hopefully everyone's kind of chilled out on summoning. It's best now just to wait till the 28th when we get the reveal of part 2. I can't imagine Chad not being summoned. Well, if you watch my summons, somehow we managed to avoid Chad. We managed to avoid the anniversary Rukia and Ichigo and a few other characters, but we somehow did manage to avoid Chad's. Kaya is saying, great designs. Would have loved if Rukia's hair was super long. And I think I also agree with that. I really do like Rukia with the long hair, very similar to her 10 years later form. And they gave Ichigo longer hair for no apparent reason. It looks cool. I would have actually liked to see that with Rukia too. So I guess if I was had a nitpick regarding Rukia's design, I would have loved to have seen longer hair. I'm fine with her hair because, you know, she looks good as is, right? But longer hair would have been cool. It's my second favorite anniversary, number 1, if not revealed early. Again, that's the unfortunate thing too. It's so unfortunate with the banner being leaked ahead of time in 3 different occasions, because it really would have been such a big moment and hyped moment for the community had it not been leaked. The new mechanic might be a tad bit underwhelming. We'll have to see how that plays out, but the character skills and kit and visuals are great, really can't complain. The best designs, in my opinion, would have loved if Rukia's hair would have been white, very similar to her Bankai state in Thousand Year Blood War. Pretty much thus far as the designs have been, you know, leaked ahead of time, that's pretty much the 2 things I've seen regarding Rukia's design. Either 1 have white hair or either 2 have the longer hair. I also agree with the longer hair. This is my first anniversary on Braves with them having fun. Maybe a total of 70-ish login days so far, and right now the most exciting. Hopefully you're enjoying the game and the anniversary. Hopefully have some good summons. Jesse is saying Caleb must have a curse on the banner because my God, is Ichigo hard to pull. Yeah, but same for me. Same for me. That aside though, I loved it. It was literally perfection. The new characters had top tier designs and skills. The fillers were also a literal godsend. Ginkaza is saying designs are fire. Ichigo has my eye more since he's going with the Horn of Salvation, evolved hollow mark on his face, showing more energy flow than a bold straight line. And Zanpakuto crossed between his very first Zanpakuto and also his Soul Society Bankai. Max transcended him without even spending a dime. And that was also kind of surprising to me. His Zanpakuto kind of looked just normal in the artwork, but in gameplay, it's very thick, if that kind of makes sense. So I kind of see where you're coming from, where it does actually resemble his Asoichi? If I probably butchered that term, but, you know, his very first Zanpakuto, it is kind of like a mixture of both. I do hope Soul Ascension becomes a new tier beyond Bankai characters, because I'm trying to see Kenpachi, Yamamoto, Mayuri, and also the Visored Captains get blessed. I think it's safe to say it is, but again, no guarantee with these characters getting Soul Ascension units, you know? Best anniversary ever, Ruki. Soifon and Ichigo 5-5 is a dream. Amazing design, Solar Ichigo, Lunar Rukia, Jesus. I'm really glad they chose Rukia for this anniversary. Overall, my most favorite character are Anniversary Okiura and Anniversary Rukia, and Aizen, but who doesn't like Anniversary Aizen? I would still hold Aizen's release as the #1 moment in Brave Souls, at least top 3. But in terms of anniversaries, nothing's going to match that. But again, unfortunately, 10th anniversary maybe could have, but you know, again, it got leaked. Design-wise, though, they're amazing. Ichigo has the best summon in the game. Yes, I agree. And everything Rukia has is absolutely beautiful. Looking forward to see more Soul Ascension units in the future. Great units, though it's a little unfortunate that the photo print isn't featuring the 10th anniversary characters. Right now, it's probably one of the biggest problems with the 10th anniversary, and it's definitely been a sour spot on the anniversary, right? And ultimately, it just comes down to expectations not being met. any character that was featured on the photo print was guaranteed by your choice. And, you know, in a way, it makes sense that they aren't including the 10th anniversary characters. They are the moneymaker, but, you know, it would have been nice. It would have been really nice. And like I said, they're breaking the expectation that was set, because if you were on the banner, you were in the ticket. And, you know, unfortunately, they're not. Had they not even been included in the image, I don't think anyone would have even complained. No one was expecting an anniversary character for free. But because they showed it to us, you know, for a few days there, we really did believe. Just perfect. The characters, the banner, the fillers, down to the last minute details. Perfect. Got a 3 out of 5 Ichigo, a max transcendent Rukia by step 25. The greediness taking over me went to step 38. That is crazy, yeah. Probably don't do that. Would love to see more Soul Ascension series continue, maybe with characters like Yuha and maybe even Tensar, since the term Soul Ascension isn't really tied to Soul Reapers or Quincy's. So maybe the series could include all forms of characters from affiliations like Aaroniero and also Hollows, maybe even Ginjo. Right now, maybe I'll even make a video going over the characters I want to see part of the Soul Ascension series, but Ginjo is definitely up there. I've been quite vocal on me really wanting an anniversary Ginjo in an original design. Every villain of Bleach has been represented in an anniversary, and I feel like Ginjo should have been too. Unfortunately, as we've now moved into 1000-year Blood War, I don't think we're really ever going to get an opportunity to be given an anniversary Ginjo, but the next best thing, and what would satisfy me, is a Soul Ascension Ginjo. I really do want that. I feel like he just deserves a good character. Lately, you know, he's just been, for the last couple or so years, since his release essentially, he's just been relegated to a mid-month premium skip unit. And while the Fullbring arc isn't, you know, the most popular arc, I feel like for a big bad villain, an otherwise cool character in my opinion, really cool design, has kind of been robbed of a good character. And in a way, this would be our last chance and best chance to get a really good Ginjo, and probably would be my most excited character part of this Soul Ascension series if they were to do that. It was perfect, just perfect. They have amazing designs and overall quite fun to play. The EX skill mechanic is also very exciting, as it could bring some interesting additional skills in the future. I definitely agree with that. Again, right now it's pretty much just additional damage, so I could see someone saying it's just a glorified character link. I could see where you're coming from. It's a bit different, right? But, you know, they did mention in the news that not every skill is going to be increased by duplicates. So to me, when I hear that, is that maybe the skill at 1 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 would just offer guard break. That's not confirmed to happen, but, you know, we could potentially get skills that we can offer through this EX skill mechanic that doesn't necessarily have to offer, you know, just more damage the more duplicates. Omar is saying Ichigo is very imaginative. He has very unusual skills. He's the strongest character of the year. Even Rukia is very excellent and only inferior to Ichigo in a few simple things. And I would probably also agree with that. Just pretty much the killer effects. How about is saying splendid designs, good banner format, good footage, you'd love to see it. And right now, let's actually kind of go down a tad bit and see some maybe unconventional comments that again aren't just repeating what most of us do agree, because I think the overall community is fairly positive, right, regarding the character releases. So Geeked Out is saying something that we've already mentioned, right? Both are really cool, and I like that they are not meta breaking. Him is saying they are broken, as expected, but the new mechanic is linking them to another character. It's whatever, but I think they could have done something better. I'm happy we're finally getting original units, but I can't really see myself using someone like Ichigo Rukia as a soul trait, as I don't think it's impressive as people are hyping it up to be. Could be wrong. And again, we kind of have to wait and see how that is going to play out in the long run, but I would definitely say you are wrong. I can understand not being as impressed as a new link mechanic than, you know, a new gameplay mechanic. But like I already said, right, this new link mechanic through the EX skills, it's like it has a bigger impact on the game than a potential new attack would have been that not every character is going to get. And again, we got that last year too, right? But the new EX skills are really good because they are better than soul traits, right? I mean, Ichigo himself offers 30% Berserker, as he offers 30% Berserker at max Transcendence, and depending on your base Berserker value, it gets multiplied. So in his case, he doesn't have a 130% Berserker, he has 160%. And it depends on how creative they want to go with this new mechanic. Instead of offering more damage output, which is the main thing for links, it could potentially offer different skills, a new whole potential skill, again, like guard break. That's not guaranteed to happen, but, you know, that's the potential in this new mechanic. Ultimately, though, it comes down to Caleb how far they want to go with this new EX skill. But in regards to saying you can't see yourself using Ichigo Rukia as a soul trait, you will. I don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, obviously, not all the time are you going to be using Ichigo and Rukia. They're amazing units. They're going to be more usable compared to most characters in the game, but there will come times where, let's say, Limit Breaker or Guild Quest, where you just simply can't use Ichigo and Rukia. And if you happen to have a mind or speed character, you will be using that character as the link, because they are the better links than any other soul trait that currently exists in the game. Mod is saying they're great, but if I'm nitpicking, I will say Rukia needed a second killer. Or at least a different one. Even though she's great without killer, her having a PvE killer would have made her much better. I agree, although as of right now, I'm fine with it, because it doesn't hurt her as much. You know, Senjumaru, for example, I think is a big example of more so the GQ skills kind of hurting her a tad bit, especially for an end-of-year unit. But her Captain Killer means that she can't really be used outside of Guild Quest and, you know, be really fun and also just clear super fast. Maybe had she been given Frenzy plus 3 and have a high damage output like Rukia, it would have been different. But honestly, right now, Rukia is perfectly fine. But I would love to see double killers return. And even if they want to balance it, you know, just make it a normal second killer. It doesn't have to be, you know, Quincy Killer Plus, for example. But a normal Quincy Killer alongside Stamina Killer would have actually been really cool. Dev is saying OG designs are back. Both of them are damn amazing. Can't really give a negative opinion outside of not having the end of year Ichigo 9th Anniversary Kenpachi's EX move. They feel fun to use, and visuals on the tuners are absolutely stunning. But I'd be lying if I was saying for the time being I prefer 10th Anniversary over the 9th Anniversary. 9th Anniversary's had way more content to do, had more free multis, which included Blood War characters and its own Senkaemon Tower. That can change though, of course, through a couple of days, as we are getting part 2 soon enough. As of right now, compared to part 1, 10th Anniversary, 9th Anniversary, the only thing we didn't get was the attribute tickets in the event orders. I would have loved to have seen that return. But alternatively, you know, even though the 10th anniversary just began, it's technically been throughout the entire year. And, you know, again, the photo print round 4 ticket was super disappointing, but we did get round 1. That was part of the 10th anniversary, and that did give us a new unit. So we're gonna have to wait and see before we compare anniversary campaign as a whole, because all those free stuff and, you know, extra content came in part 2. Wonderful designs, and the units feel very powerful. My only nitpicks would have been if Caleb gave them double killer plus, or double status on the plus on their strong attacks. But I hope that we might see that something like near the end of the year at the earliest. I think double killer plus would be the first. No, I actually don't know. Because the thing with double killer plus, like the reason why ultimately Caleb aren't doing it is because it's to sell more units. That's the main reason, right? But also at the same time, when double killer was a, you know, big deal, that's also when characters' damage output was very similar, where having double killer would actually make you a bit more valuable. Characters back then would have very similar damage output, but the thing that made you stood against the other units was having that extra killer effect. Nowadays, we don't need double killer to get more damage output, but I definitely do think it is more so just to sell more units. So maybe double status element plus would be the first thing that we do see. But again, status element plus is still a new thing. It's only been in the game for 7 months. Maybe it's not time just yet. Maybe we could see that at the end of the year. As of right now, consistently, every 6 months we have been getting a new mechanic. So I am curious to see what end of year is going to bring, even if that is like 6-7 months away. Slice and Dice and say, amazing designs, interesting new system with the EX skills, and a surprisingly acceptable level of power creep. Just enough to make them feel godly, but not so much that it seems ridiculous. And I think that's best seen also in the new Guild Quest difficulty that we have that was made for these units. Last year, for example, because 9th Annie Kenpachi and Gremmy was so overpowered compared to the rest of the game, you know, that Guild Quest was pretty much have Kenpachi and Gremmy or you aren't clearing it. The rewards were pretty much gatekept from having the new units, but this year with the current Guild Quest difficulty that we have, you know, Ichigo and Rukia make very easy and quick work of it, but it is beatable without them. We've done that on the channel. And in the case for the melee stammer to Guild Quests, you know, Mercy Masculine is one of the best characters to use if you don't have Rukia, and he's in the anniversary banner. I want to address this comment because I kind of seen something similar. So, love the designs, but they actually play a bit slower than I would like. Both of them have a vortex/final hit, which does good damage, but it is really slow when running through content, which reduces the fun factor a bit. Of course, Rukia getting another garbage killer like her Bankai is kind of annoying regardless of the strength, since you'll always perform poorly in those 5-time killer missions and Senkaemon quest. So I kind of see where you're coming from regarding, you know, Rukia's SA2 and also Ichigo's SA1. It does lock them in place. To me, that doesn't really, you know, ruin their gameplay, but I kind of see where you're coming from. But, you know, again, with Rukia, right, I know you addressed that she is really good, but Honestly, man, she is really that good. She is really that good. We'll see how the upcoming Limit Breaker quests deal with Rukia, right? But, you know, Senkamon content, Rukia is definitely not bad by any means. She's still one of the few characters in the game that can beat Stage 3 Mission 3 in under 1 minute without any character links. So no matter what quest is coming up in the story per stage, right? If they ever do add more, if Rukia can't beat it, a lot of characters aren't going to be able to beat it, regardless of killer. Milkman is saying, would have been better if they had premium backgrounds? Insane. This lad is saying, I love the design and characters. It's just super sad that you have so many cool designs, and sadly my favorite character, Shunsui, got the short end of the stick. His Beyond Bankai is a normal link sort character, and his seasonal units are GQ NAD units. It breaks my heart that Caleb makes such a beautiful and well-designed character, but never for my girl Shunsui. Please don't say he might get a character we all know he ain't. It's Shunsui. He is one of the bigger characters from Core 3 1000G Blood War, and he's likely going to be in a big banner. Core 3 is going to start next week, and Shunsui is a character that's either going to be part of the anniversary or an end of year celebration, so I am going to give you hope, because it's going to happen. We're going to get a new Bankai Shunsui. No idea when, but it's going to be for a big occasion. If it doesn't happen for part 2 of the anniversary, it's pretty much guaranteed to be end of year. We have another comment regarding the anniversary itself, saying 9th anniversary was better. While we're mainly again here to talk about the characters, right? That'll be a separate video. It's still way too early to say 9th anniversary was better, because we're comparing the whole 2 months of the 9th anniversary compared to 5 days of the 10th anniversary. A1 Go is saying, include me in the video. There you go, lads. But this lad here is saying, I hate the designs. Kind of a different one compared to the overall opinion that is fairly positive, right? But they are powerful AF, so whatever, I'm fine with it. I think canon inspired original units are way better. These two look like seasonal units. I can see where you're coming from. I'm also with Rukia. It's because she is wearing her, you know, it's kind of a very similar design to her Bankai. I think I did see a few comments saying Rukia looks like a seasonal unit. I think I briefly shared the same opinion, but after I saw the full artwork, I definitely disagree, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. Stanish is in overall no complaint because the characters look good, but I'm not a fan of Ichigo's SA1 with the full hollow mask. I don't think it fits the vibe for what they were going for with the sun gods. It does look very cool though, I just don't think it fits with the form. It's a bit of a weird one too, because again, we don't know much about the designs. If there's one thing we can say overall about Brave Souls regarding the original design units, is that kind of don't really go in depth on what they are and where they come from and what they do, besides the overall gameplay. I mean, the overall Beyond Bankai characters literally just came from an enhanced Tenjin Tai. So storytelling, admittedly, isn't, you know, Caleb's forte when it comes to the original designs. They cook with the designs, but don't really make much sense of where they come from, right? And yeah, the full hollow mask, I mean, there's hollow elements in the character designs, so I guess that's why they include the full hollow mask, but it definitely was, like, off-putting even for me. It's like, the character looks cool, it's a cool attack, but it also, at first glance, does kind of come out of nowhere, so I kind of get where you're coming from. Devo is talking about the EX attacks, which again, right now has been like the biggest criticism towards the new characters, saying, I do not like the EX moves. My favorite EX moves are ones that provide utility, like debuffs, boosts, barriers, and it's super weird they didn't give any to the biggest celebration of the year. I think it's because, like, they don't need the EX attack. Like, they're that good of units, they don't need that extra attack. It's more just extra damage, I guess, if that kind of makes sense. I think Rukia's E-Attack is perfectly fine because it is a great vortex that surrounds her, has really good range, lasts quite a while too. Ichigo's one is quite the weird one because it locks him in place, so it's very awkward for even stationary content. I was going to say it's awkward when you're trying to speedrun. You know, Limit Breaker, I didn't really get to use much of it, but I guess it does work when you actually paralyze the enemies. But even in Guild Quest, I didn't really get to make use much of his EX attack. But personally, I would like, you know, on the topic of EX moves, right? I would love to see EX moves actually be capable of doing really good damage, because I can kind of see where you're coming from. Those utility effects, EX moves, are some of the best in the game, because EX attacks traditionally don't do that much damage compared to the strong attacks. Obviously, they're capable of doing some really good damage, but compared to the strong attacks, it's not as much. I would love to see an EX move that out-damages a strong attack, because, you know, it's an attack that you can only use once every minute. So that would have also been crazy to see. Now, I'd love to see more regarding the EX moves in terms of actually dealing some really crazy damage. But I guess the problem with that is that you can't really buff it besides full stamina damage. But I don't know, they can increase the damage output. Ichigo is able of doing some pretty good damage, but it is spread between, like, multiple hits. I would love, like, a EX move that just does one hit, and it just does crazy damage, right? Needing to buff it, like we do with Kenpachi, for example. So this style is saying no double killers, worse EX moves compared to the 9th anniversary, no trucking vortex, no rampage, no gauge or kill count abilities. They're not bad, but not the best by any stretch. Obviously, from a meta standpoint, they are better than any character with any of these abilities, right? But I guess from a gameplay standpoint, you know, these things are what make characters a bit more fun. Funny enough, this is the 1st anniversary without a tracking vortex. It was introduced during the 5th anniversary. Aizen had it in the 6th anniversary. 7th anniversary, Ichigo had it. 8th anniversary, Ichigo had it. And then 9th anniversary, Gremmy had it. So, kind of surprising. Maybe likely, because we are going to see a tracking vortex in part 2. Who knows? Rampage is a bit of a weird one. They just do not hand that out. Like, we've only ever had 5 characters with it. 1 in every attribute. Who knows when we're going to see that again. And then same with Gauge too. Like, that could potentially be seen in part 2. But, you know, a lot of these effects are really just more damage. And the 10th Annie characters have that damage without needing that. But to be fair, if this is what you want in your units to be more fun, I can kind of see where you're coming from. So let's scroll down right to the bottom right. Sometimes these could be maybe the controversial comments that maybe get downvoted more, right? And this pretty much is going to wrap up the video. But first I'll be saying boring, but they are good links. Kenpachi is stronger now with Rukia's link. I mean, that is true. That is true. I mean, regarding the second statement, I disagree with the, you know, first part, but fair enough. This started saying, I'll be honest, there is almost no hype for these characters. The characters seem so underwhelming and don't feel powerful. That's kind of crazy to say. It really is. But they then go to mention that the gap Kenny and Gremmy introduced was way bigger than Rukia and Ichigo. So that probably is ultimately the biggest thing, right? And again, that's just how it is, right? 9th Annie did introduce bigger power creep, and it was a massive power creep that was still kind of catching up. Is it a bad thing that 10th anniversary didn't push it and invalidated every character beforehand? Not really. It's fine. There's still only like 6 characters in the game that have Frenzy 3 everywhere. Did we really need to jump into like Frenzy 4 with the Gauge, Rampage and all this extra stuff? One might say yes, because it's the 10th anniversary. But remember, this isn't the final anniversary, right? There still needs to be more things coming in the future. We need to get better than the 10th anniversary next year. That's not to say they held these characters back. They didn't by any means, but from a power standpoint, they definitely aren't, you know, bad by any means. I would say they're probably the best characters in the game. But from a power creep standpoint, 9th anniversary definitely pushed it. Does that make the 10th anniversary worse? That comes down to how you feel, right? Gambler fans said they're really cool and the designs are nice, but it was super predictable, whatever. And that's true. I mean, it's one of those ones, like, it was super predictable. It's exactly what we wanted, but it was the right course. That's why it was predictable, because it shouldn't have been any other situation. I'm surprised this comment's at the bottom, but I mean, sometimes that's just the order, right? This guy is just saying that I'm surprised that people don't appreciate the banner enough, just because there's no Frenzy 4. Like, and I really feel like it's just because no new gameplay mechanic, right? They're using stuff that currently exists into the game. I think ultimately, for anyone that was complaining that they weren't technically good enough, it is in regards to that. User here is saying, say what you want, but Gremmy is better. Gremmy's not bad. Gremmy's not bad. Gremmy's already kind of getting power crept in GQ, if you care about GQ scores, right? He's just not able to get the super high scores that, you know, Rukia, Ichigo, Aizen, Byakuya, and Kenpachi can get. And that's fine. That's fine, because he actually makes up for it outside of Guild Quest. He's an amazing unit. No one's going to downplay Gremmy. Gremmy is amazing. But I would definitely say these new characters are better. But you know what? Gremmy might get better in part 2 if we get a Technique SP unit with an EX skill that he can maybe benefit from. And then last we have Zaitin saying, probably biased now that I got both on step 10. Best anniversary ever. The character choice and the theme is perfect for the 10th anniversary of Brave Souls. The sun and moon, heaven and earth is just beautiful. Rukia, the highlight of it all. She's not even working properly and still destroys the content. Best speed character in the game, and it's not even close. I love her visuals, gameplay, and her design is gorgeous. Ichigo is a powerhouse of a unit with 2 superior strong attacks. His design and visuals might make him the second best original design of his 5th anniversary being the favorite. And, you know, while on that topic, right, I'm excited for 5th anniversary Ichigo's remake. That should be happening next year for the pre-anniversary. And I wonder who would be paired with him. So that pretty much recaps how the community feels regarding the 10th anniversary character in particular. We did see a few comments regarding the 10th anniversary campaigns. You know, we'll talk about that again in a separate video once the entire campaign is done, right? It's way too early to say anything. But if we strictly look at the characters themselves, it's fairly positive, which is a stark difference compared to last year where, you know, I wasn't able to do the community reaction last year because I was ill on the day. But there really wasn't much great things to say about last year, at least from a character standpoint. Fortunately, this year, it's a bit more positive because this is what we wanted. This was the best course of action. The designs are great. I haven't seen much negative things about the characters. The only nitpicks, at least in regards to Rukia that we saw, which I can kind of see where they're coming from, is the Rukia's hair design. I think most people understand that the characters are actually really good and some of the best characters in the game, especially from a visual standpoint. But some people kind of wanted the power creep to be pushed even further. Given that it is the 10th anniversary, I think some people wanted these characters to be the de facto best characters of all time. That gapped any character previously and potentially yet to come. Regardless though, everyone's opinion is valid, although I am surprised that we didn't see much hate on Rukia, because leading up to the release of this character, I was seeing a lot of vocal, maybe minority, of people that just did not want Rukia to be an anniversary. So I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see them in today's video, truth be told. But either way, I think Caleb did a pretty good job for part 1 of the characters. Hopefully part 2 can follow through. And hopefully the rest of the campaign, celebration as a whole, can also be up to par. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and peace.